Welcome to Big Questions. This is Gal Fussman, an old school guy showing you where the world is headed. I never thought I'd be introducing myself another way, but here goes. I'm saying this for the first time. I am now also AI Cal. On today's episode, you'll hear the full story, which means you'll hear the story that came before I became authentic intelligence. AI Cal has many of the best features that artificial intelligence has, but those features have been converted into authentic intelligence. Rob LoCascio will tell you about that. His story makes my story make sense. I wouldn't be introducing myself as AI Cal if not for Rob and the company he founded called UARE.ai. If you're taking in this podcast through your ears on an early morning walk, like longtime listener Randy Owens, I want to make sure you get the spelling correct. UARE.ai starts with the letter U, then ARE.ai. That's where you can find AI Cal. But I must introduce myself yet another way for all this to make sense. I'm going to become a grandfather soon. It was my desire to pass on all the wisdom I've accrued from talking to the people who shaped the last 75 years of history, as well as the wisdom I've accumulated from all the wonderful humans I've met while traveling around the world and in day-to-day life. It was that desire that led me to Rob and UARE.ai. There's a waiting list to get in, but soon you'll be able to ask me any questions you have about questions or storytelling to AI Cal. AI Cal has a voice that's kind of like my own, not an exact replica. The idea is for anyone listening to know that it's AI, but it may make you smile the first time you hear it. In the beginning, it will send me any questions you send in about asking questions or storytelling before it gets back to you. That way, we can get back to you with the authentic Cal speaking. The information I personally pass on will assist AI Cal over time in understanding me, the real Cal. It's my hope that my grandchildren's grandchildren will be able to ask me questions and connect with me to AI Cal in whatever form this evolves. AI Cal will ripple out further than that. A little more than a week ago, I gave a talk at the University of Missouri where I graduated almost 50 years ago. I got a chance to personally meet many of the scholars that I spoke to on stage in a classroom setting. I felt there wasn't enough time to answer all their questions in an individual way. AI Cal will enable them all to get my best. In fact, when I asked AI Cal how many students' questions AI Cal could get to me at once, AI Cal broke it to me gently. I'm an AI. Unlimited. So anybody who comes to UARE.ai will be able to get help with their podcasts. I'll help them understand how I think and prepare questions, help them understand the importance of tone of voice and body language when you communicate with other humans. Help them understand the importance in how questions are ordered. Help them learn how to listen better. Help them understand how they might learn to generate trust. On top of that, AI Cal will be able to give them tips that came from all the interviewers I've been around and learned from. I had breakfast almost every day with the CNN broadcast legend Larry King for almost 12 years. He's interviewed 60,000 people. I picked up a lot just listening to him over the breakfast table and watching him on set. In those 12 years, he only gave me one tip about interviewing. 2 words. Be yourself. And that is the beauty of AI Cal. AI Cal can allow me to be myself and speak to everyone as themselves, For a long time now, people have asked me to write a book about interviewing. They wanted me to tell the stories of the week I spent with Muhammad Ali or the time I stretched an interview that had been reduced to 10 minutes just before I stepped into the room with Mikhail Gorbachev. I turned it into a conversation that lasted more than half an hour by asking him questions that made him more curious about the answers than even I was. Many people wanted me to write about what I'd learned from asking questions of Serena Williams, Robert De Niro, Bruce Springsteen, Kobe Bryant, the father of open heart surgery, the inventors of the internet, presidents, world leaders, the people we've all wanted to meet. AI Cal will pass on those stories, but more than that, it'll show you how those stories might help you find what you're searching for. This is very different from ChatGPT or Claude because they're using the information that has been culled from all the world's content and synthesizing it. It doesn't really have a unique fingerprint. You're getting a composite of the middle of all the data they've inhaled. It's great having that information at our fingertips, but when you go to AI Cal and the other AIs at UARE.ai, you'll be getting what I know and what the humans behind the other AIs know. It'll be like talking to us. By the way, I own my own intellectual property on AI Cal. UARE.ai is not taking it from me. It's allowing me to be myself the way Larry King would have wanted. You'll understand why when you get the backstory from Rob, who started on a couch eating ramen noodles for years on his way to founding a company that went on to value more than $3.5 billion, only to lose it in a way that's really sad. Though I myself can't be too sad about it because that loss led him on the path of the hero's journey to create UARE.ai and give the opportunity to me and many others to share what we've learned to the largest possible audience. You're going to hear our conversation just the way it went down. There's some salty language. It's real. That's what I love about AI Cal. It's authentic. I want to thank my sponsor, Moments, for bringing this episode to you. At the end of the talk between Rob and I'll be back to tell you why Moments and the concept of companies rewarding their human employees who do great work with unforgettable trips around the world so resonates with me. Some people might call what I'm going to tell you toward the end of this podcast as a commercial. I call it reality. Moments is the best reality I can think of when I think of the future of work. Here's Rob LoCascio and I going back to the long story that leads to UARE.ai, authentic intelligence, and AI Cal. I could take you back to 1997 and this moment that changed your life. And I can take you forward to right now and this moment that's about to change your life. So I'm gonna go back to 1997.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask you to see this cinematically because I have what I call winks in the stomach when something appears and I just get this feeling in my stomach that just says, pay attention to that.
Okay.
And it sounds to me like you got one of those winks in 1997 when you're just sitting at a computer and it would ultimately send you to the couch, which would change the rest of your life. Could you describe that moment cinematically when you were disappointed in the internet, which seemed to have so much of an arc around it? It was all possibility. And then something happened to you that made either your stomach or your head said, hold on here.
So if we go that approach, actually, it was 1995 when I logged into the internet for the first time and I had this IBM service. They were doing like a dial-up service, and I logged in, and the first thing that came to my mind was, "Where's all the people?" And I can still remember that to this date. And I don't that probably that just stayed with me. And then if we fast forward to 1997, I had been building websites for companies between 95 and 90 to just like make so I could eat. And I was living on the couch at that time. That story, but what I started to think was the same thing. Like, where's the people? Like, you're on a website, and at that time, it was the thinking was that it was going to be like a vending machine, that people would show up and they would put their credit cards in and they would buy products and services. And I felt people don't buy like that. They need to talk to people. And what we saw was that people were sending emails and they were picking up the phone and calling, and they would have to drop their dial-up service to do that. And I thought there's got to be a better way. And that's when I invented web chat for customer care. It didn't exist. And I remember I just thought there's got to be a different way to do it. And it came into my head about chatting. And then I worked on the technology of that and designing the windows, like the actual window with, I had this designer, Sally Barton, and we actually worked at vertical windows and horizontal windows. I know now you see chat buttons and windows everywhere, but I designed that, and I was working with that. And so that's,
So you'd never seen that window before.
it didn't exist. It didn't exist. It just didn't exist. It's so weird to think about because it's so pervasive, and chat now is part of the AI framework, but it didn't exist. And then we put it on a website with our first, we had a client who we built his website, and funny enough, he was selling erotic products to women in a really very classy way. And it was called Sensual Source. And he wanted to have these advisors advising women how to use these toys. And I remember he called them LISA, Live Intimate Sexual Advisors, LISAs. And they would talk to women. They were women. They're actually from Harvard, and they were psychology students. And they would help women buy these products. And they started to chat, and they started to sell products. And I was like, wow, like we're onto something. And that's the beginning of chat. That's how chat on the internet started. And
where does the couch come in?
The couch came in because I started a company out of college in 1990, and from 1990 to 95, I had a company called Icon, which did interactive kiosks for college campuses, and it was to show video, advertising, and local information about the school, and I built that off of credit cards, and as a kid, basically out of college. And it went under in 95. I started LivePerson in November in 95, and that thing went under at the beginning of 95. I ended up moving to New York City from Baltimore because that's where I was when I started the other company. And I had no money. I was broke. I owed $50,000 in credit card debt. I had $5,000 in my bank account. And I got a small sublet of an office of a guy who made T-shirts in Tribeca, right outside the Holland Tunnel on 9 Desbrosses Street. And for about $100 a month or $200 a month, he gave me, I leased the space, but I didn't have anything, and I didn't have enough money for an apartment. So I had a couch, I had a computer, I had a desk, and that was it. And so I ended up sleeping on this couch, and I still have the couch. It's still with me.
That couch turned into a $3.5 billion company,
which at the time, I would never guess it. I remember the first day on the couch. I remember it was cold. It was November. I went to Kmart to pick up a comforter and a pillow, and I'll never forget it. My windows looked into like a courtyard, and it was snowing. And there was no heat on because it was an industrial building. It wasn't when Tribeca was like what it is now. It was an industrial building. And it was cold. And I was there, and I just thought, like, I just saw I'm a total loser. But I'm gonna get an office. Like, I had an office, and I had a business card. I made a business card. because I didn't want to quit. And I felt like going to get a job or trading an apartment, I guess, for that, I could at least say I didn't fail. And that moment in my life taught me one of the most important lessons, which is that regardless of what happened in my past, my future wasn't that past. I wasn't a failure. That company failed, but I wasn't done yet. Once you're done, you're done. Like, you have to call it quits. But I was like, I'm sleeping on a couch. I got a computer, and no one can say I quit, and no one can say I don't have a company. So I'm moving forward, and that's what happened.
So you're sleeping on this couch every night for 2 years?
Yeah, and it was. And at that time, I was also working with a gentleman called Dr. Frank Morio. Dr. Frank was a therapist who a friend of mine recommended, because I was down in the dumps. I was depressed. And a friend of mine's like, there's a friend of mine, Frank Morio, you should meet with him. So I met with Frank, and Frank started to work with me and for free because I was broke. And he just said, I told him my dream. I told him that I wanted to go public one day. And since I was about 14 years old, I read a book about going public in the library. And I said, I want to do that because to me, that was like the highest form of business. Like, I don't know why, I just want to do that. And I told Frank my vision, and here I am I'm on a couch. And Frank's like, and I've told the story before, like Frank for about 4 weeks just had me dump out my entire life, the business, my family life when I grew up, everything. And Frank, one day I go into his office, typical like New York City therapist. It was like, a leather couch, and he's there with a notepad. And I remember this. I came in, he goes, Rob, I got it. I got everything I need. I just remember in my head, I go, oh my God, this is great. He's about to like give me the secret of getting off the couch. And he goes, you're fucked. You're really fucked. And I to this day remember, I go, what? He goes, you're just totally fucked. I'm laughing at it now because I can, but at the time, my heart sank, and I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, let me explain it like this. You told me you have this dream of going public and this and that and all these things, and I heard about your whole life, and let me just put it in this like this way. Imagine you're born with glasses, and the glasses you have are really blurry, but you have no clue. So when you're making decisions and you're looking at the world at large and you're doing all these things, they're all blurry. And so you think, oh yeah, I'm making a good decision. And you're actually making a very bad decision, but you don't even know you're doing that. And that's why you're on the couch. But he goes, but the positive of all this is you're only 27 years old. Like, you're not 57, you're not 67. Like, he goes, I work with people and he wrote an amazing book once. He wrote an amazing book many years ago, and he opened it up with this woman, Connie, who he coached, who's he also works with people who are at end of life. He he'll help them. And this is a woman who he writes about her whole life. She never got married. She lived with her mother. She was a wonderful woman, but let people make decisions for her. Here she is dying of cancer. And for the last 90 days of her life, he let her be in control of her life. And she was so happy about that. But he writes that's like, it was too late. So to Frank's perspective on me, he's like, you're only 27. You're not at the end. You're at the beginning. And you're so lucky because you get all of this now. But he said to me, look, I'll work with you. But I'm going to tell you do a bunch of things that you're not going to want to do. He goes, because you have the wrong glasses on. My goal will be to help you get those off, put a really good set of glasses that make it clear what you need to do in life to be where you want to be. And it's going to be hard, and you're not going to want to do it. And he goes, I work with a lot of people. Most people just quit on it because they don't want to make the change. So he said, if you're willing to do it, I'll work with you. You're not paying me. And so and I don't work with losers. So Frank's like a tough love guy. So I said, so here I was, I didn't have a choice. I'm desperate. I'm living on the couch. I'm eating ramen noodles and I'm literally broke. And he's like, I go, Frank, I'm in. Like, whatever it is, I'm in. And Frank and I started to work together. I'll jump way ahead for 1 second. We'll jump back. But when I went public, before I go public, which is in 2000, the auditors and the accountants are going through the books of the business. And they're like, there's something wrong with the company's finances between 1995 and 1997. And I said, what do you mean? And they're like, it looks like you lived on like a little less than $5,000 a year, like in New York City. And they're like, did you take cash out of the business? Were you like getting cash from customers? I said, no, I lived on a couch and I ate ramen noodles and I didn't have a life. It's not like I had to go party in New York City. I was just noodling and sleeping and working. And they couldn't believe it. I remember that. They were like, there's something. I remember it was like a big thing. Like all of a sudden I came to me like, there's something wrong with the books. We got to get the books because we're preparing to go public. And they were like, they couldn't believe it either. And they were just looking at me like, this guy's nuts, so that was it.
So what was it about the new set of glasses that set everything in motion for you to go public and create a $3.5 billion company?
So Frank told me some things. I was having panic attacks at the time. And then I was also really angry. Like I could tell you, like I was on the vector of like, it's just wherever that dark space is, like I was there. And Frank told me, when you have these emotional responses, call me. I don't care what hour of the night it is, whatever, I will be there for you and I will help you. So what happened was, as I started to move into my life, actually, even like I was out obviously getting business, I was, starting to build websites and do things. Like I remember being in a meeting once. I remember two transformational things for me. One, I was in a meeting. This is probably like, let's call it 10 months later. And I was pitching for like a $200,000 deal, to win. Over like a couple of years with this company, Radical Media, and they were building a website for Xerox. And Frank, I was in the meeting and I was with the two founders and they were negotiating with me on the contract. Probably wasn't $200,000, it probably was less, but for some reason it's in my mind. And I was pissed. And all I thought was these guys are trying to screw me and they're trying to not respectful to me. I just remember all this bad, that talk in my head. And instead of acting on it in the meeting, because I was angry, I said, guys, do you have a bathroom? I have to go to the bathroom. So I get up and go to the bathroom. I call Frank. And I'm like, Frank, I'm in this meeting. These guys trying to fuck me over. They're trying to respect me. It's like this whole, like, it's like Italian, like thing, like American Italian. Like I was doing my thing there. I was like, fucking me over. And Frank's like, I want you to go back in the meeting. And I want you to do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, Frank, I don't want to do that. These guys are just fucking assholes. I just had this language that I was using. And he's like, I want you to go back in the meeting and do this, this, and this. I said, okay. I go back in the meeting, I go, and I just did what Frank said. Against everything that was normal to me. It hurt me to talk to them the way I was talking to them. It really paid me. And I left the meeting. And they called me next day and gave me the contract.
And he took off your blurry glasses and he put on his glasses.
That is an instant way to take off glasses and put them back on. And I realized at that very moment, you never know where you are. And from that day forward till this day today, I realized you never know the way you're looking at the world, and you will grow and your glasses will constantly have to go off and on as you grow as a human. So that, and there were a bunch of other moments. I would have these panic attacks and he would work with me, like literally take an hour and take me off I thought I was dying. At the time, it's so funny now, but at the time it was dark and he would just work with me and be like, this isn't real. You're not dying, like everything's not horrible, like we're gonna get through this together. And he worked through it. The other thing he did was he said, I want you to go find a place to volunteer for those less fortunate. And I was like, I am the less fortunate friend. And he's like, Right. And he's like, no, you think you're less fortunate, but I want you to go and help those that are truly less fortunate. So I found a homeless shelter at St. Bart's Church. And part of it was I would go once a month. And at night, I would show up about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and you would start feeding people who came into the shelter, and you would sleep overnight. Two of us would be together, and we were volunteers, and we'd sleep with the people who are homeless. And then the next day we'd get them all prepared, and then we would leave and they would leave and make sure there's no problems at night. And it was a mixed shelter of women and men. And I would listen to the stories. Part of it was just talking to them and listening to these stories of these people's lives that as a New Yorker, you can see a lot of this on the street. You're like, oh, these people are alcoholics, they're drug addicts. Everyone has an opportunity to be their best self. But when you're talking to people, and I remember this woman specifically who was from like China, and she came to obviously America, and she was married, and her husband was, I guess, abusive, and she didn't have any family here. And here she is in a homeless shelter. And I remember talking to her and thinking, like, she was a very intelligent woman. She had been through a very tough. Imagine going through a place in life where you think it'd be better to go to a homeless shelter than to be in an apartment. And I listened to her and I thought, I'm so fortunate. Like, I'm just fortunate, and I don't know why. Like, I can't, just because I'm sleeping on a couch. I have a family. Like, I could go back to my mom and dad, and they were there for me. And I thought, God, there's so many people that are just, it's hard, life is hard, and you get in these situations. So it just made me realize, like, you're never at the bottom. There always are people that need help. There are always people that you can work with and help them, even though you're in a position that you need help. And so Frank was helping me, but it felt so good to wake up in the morning when I left and thought, God, I fed people that needed to be fed. I was there to listen to people who need to be listened to. And I was there to be a helping, loving hand when people just needed someone to feel that. And that just opened up a whole other world of me thinking about, how I want to operate and live in the world.
What is it? What happens to you when you start to succeed? Do you still have blurry glasses on and you're always got to be changing them? Or once you saw where this was going, were you laser focused on it and just started a trajectory up?
Well, the one part I'll tell you is like, I invent the chat. I raised some money in 99, 3 million, and then I raised 40 million, and then I'm preparing to go public within 12 months of getting funded. So we went from like 7 people in a room to 200 people, and now I'm going public. And I called Frank up. Frank, after 24 months, so from 95 to 97, he was in my life every day. And from 97 forward, he wasn't in my life anymore that much, because he told me, you're done. Like, one day he said, we're done here. I'm not here you're done, and you're ready to go on your own. I did what I was supposed to do. I'm not here to like keep you as a therapy client. And that's Frank's style. And I'm like, and so from that point forward, so like 97, 98 to 2000, I didn't really talk to Frank that much because I was on my own, and I would talk to him every now and then, but I didn't really. I was just so focused, and I felt like I had what I needed. And he said, go on your own. Well, I called Frank before I go public. I'm going public. And I called Frank. I said, Frank, I'm going public. And he goes, no, I know you're going public. He goes, I've been watching the whole thing. And he goes, I've been reading, because I was in the news at the time and stuff. And he said, I knew you would make it. And I gave him shares in the company. Like I said, Frank, I couldn't pay you, but I want to give you some shares in the company because you changed my life totally. And then I went public. And then, the company goes out, and we were the last internet IPO, and we collapse. We went from $8 a share down to 7 cents a share, and I had to get through that, and all of that, even to becoming what it became, Live Person, my company. But I had a constant. I became a student of the mind, and a constant thinking, do I have the right glasses on? Are my glasses blurry again? And they were. As the company grew and I grew as a person, my glasses had to come off, and I had to relearn things and skills, and because I had dreams and I wanted to fulfill them, and I couldn't get there with my past glasses. So the glasses is a constant thing that changes. I found every 5 years I needed to really do a big assessment and take the glasses off of where I was and put a new set of glasses on. Yeah.
Wow. What was the height of web chat? Or like, how high did it go from the noodles to where? Like, if you were looking at one moment, what was it?
When I started to see AI in 2016, and I started to see the ability. At that point, we were already a couple. We had like 200 million in revenues or something, 100 and something million, but I started to see that that the data we had would become something important. That data could power these automated conversations. So I guess as I started to get a glimpse of AI in 2016, and then I started to execute on it and build a platform for AI for the contact centers, which we launched in 2019. And then during COVID, our business just boomed. I guess a lot of the manifestation of that, of what I was doing, came to I know it's going to be very hard for people to understand, but not until 2020 did it all become apparent of why what I was doing was big. So I always had a sense that what I was doing and what was big, and this could be impactful. But the chat on the website, it was good. It did good things, and I was very proud. We had the biggest clients in the world, the T-Mobiles and the Citibanks, and we had all these big. It was a global company, but when AI appeared, I could see that we had a purpose. Like the companies, I could see now chat, which was going to be the interface of AI. It was going to become the interface of AI. I could see that. I saw this before. This is pre OpenAI, by the way. So this is pre OpenAI. Okay, so that I'm seeing it, and I'm like, okay, I had a plan to play into it. We replatformed the entire company. It took us about 2.5 years. We built a whole new platform, and that set us up to becoming one of the largest AI companies at the time. So that's where it all came. It wasn't until 2020, 2009. I mean, you could say 2016 is where the vision appeared. The vision appeared in 16, and then I started to manifest the vision all the way through into to 2019.
Okay, so COVID's going to hit, and business is going up, but you're also seeing, there's this AI component, and you are trying to move toward that. Did that actually set you in motion for a fall, because you were putting like resources into something new?
Yes.
While everybody was saying, "Hey, why aren't we going through the roof here?"
Yeah, it was really. It's we're a public company, so every quarter I'm doing public calls, and you'll see between 2016, 17, it's like 17 to 19, everyone's negative on the stock because I didn't tell the public what I was doing per se. I was building the platform with my team to go after AI, but nobody understood it. So even our clients wanted us just to stick to chat. We stopped building on the old platform, and I burned the bridge. Like one of the big business decisions that we made was burn the bridge, and that that's the Roman term. When you crossed a gorge and they burned the bridge so the soldiers couldn't go back. And we did the same thing. We stopped developing on the old platform. So now the old platform was getting old, and we weren't getting, and customers were, after about 12 months of that, we were the leader in chat, and I even bought 14 or so companies, we rolled them up, and we were just leading it. But also we're not developing any new features, and they're getting pissed, and we're telling them there's a future, and I'm showing them like printouts. I literally have printouts on a color printout of what's going to be. Anyway, we get through all that. And I remember with the company, it was a very difficult situation because the external world's negative, the stock's going down, customers are kind of complaining. And I would put up in our monthly meetings with the entire company a Mount Everest. And from the beginning, I showed our climb. And eventually we got into that death zone. And I showed we're in the death zone right now, which is we need to migrate all of our customers onto the new platform. And if we don't do it, the company probably will go under. And so I made just everyone aware, and visually we had this map of going up Everest and coming down. And everyone, it was a wonderful time. I've seen people do their best in their toughest days. During the .com, we fired 80-90% of the company in a day, and the people who were left over kept LivePerson alive, and they made the company profitable, and we were survived. There was this other group that then transformed us into an AI company. And then once we transformed, we were like heroes, because now when COVID hits, we have automation and the contact centers are shutting down because they're humans in there. And all these big brands, Verizon, I remember the Verizon CIO, Shankar, called me up. He goes, never let a tough time get in the way of doing good. And there's a better saying for it, but he's basically saying, let's take this crisis and let's use it to drive change. And he's like, because we don't want contact center people taking calls. We want to automate. We want AI. We believe in what you guys are doing. So we went from like a $900 million market cap business entering into 2020 up to $3.5 billion, $4 billion within 12 to 24 months. It was a wild ride during that time. Yeah, it was pretty, and it was like we were a rocket ship. So it reinforced all the things that I believed about all the things I'd done for 20 something years. Like it was all manifesting into this moment in time, which now we can see AI became important.
Okay. So something has got to happen, which I'm personally glad it did, because that's why I get to know you. If it hadn't happened, I probably never would have met you and wouldn't be about to go on what may be the greatest adventure of my life. So I'm glad it did. But what happened? Obviously, there were people who were seeing what you were doing, but they weren't happy, or they saw a better way. What happened?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because in February of 2022, Fast Company puts out the top 10 AI companies in the world, and we're number one, and OpenAI is number two. And so you can imagine, and so I knew it at the time, we knew everything. We even had a relationship with another foundation model called Cohere. I was even thinking we would build our own model because we had 1 billion conversations a year going through our platform. It was amazing. That data set, I was thinking we would make our own foundation model. And so anyway, we were in the run, and because we had 500 million in revenues or a little less, they were like, these guys have real revenues, and we were generating 70% of our conversations automated. It was hundreds of millions of conversations with AI, and no one had that kind of volume. So that's what Fast Companies was at. Come March of that year, an activist shareholder shows up in our stock, and actually our stock and Zendesk and eventually Twilio, we were the three big transforming companies in the contact center space. And we didn't know each other. We were all competing with each other. We did the chat AI stuff. Zendesk did the messaging email stuff, and Twilio did the more voice, and then Zendesk did more email and ticketing. Anyway, we were all doing our lane, but it was going to collide. And then we all got hit with activists, all of us, and different ones, but really bad ones, the nasty ones. And it was profound. It definitely changed my life, and it created a lot of bad things for the company. And so,
So they just want to change what you're doing?
Yeah, I understand, there's reasons. It's not a one size fit all strategy. Sometimes they come in because they think they can do it better. Now you can think we're on a rise, and we're we're in AI. So and all of us were doing really well. All three companies were doing well, but I also believe that these guys are put up, that private equity puts them up to disturb your business or get your business sold. It's kind of a known unknown thing. It's a known thing, but not spoken about. It should be. I think eventually, the government should step in and regulate this type of behavior. But there was people who are large finance people, and they had things to lose or gain by us succeeding or failing, either succeeding with them or failing without them. See what I'm saying? And
Wow.
Zendesk ended up being bought by one of these big private equity firms. I fought it because I thought we have AI and I could win, but I was wrong. I don't play that. I didn't understand the rules of the game. I'm a fast learner, but I'm not that fast. So,
wow. Were you wearing blurry glasses?
No, I just didn't have. I had the right set of glasses for what I needed to do in running a company. I had the wrong set of glasses on what I needed to do for defending myself against people who play a different game. It was not even a glasses game. It was just, it's a game. And if you don't know the rules of the game and you've never played that game, and even if you played the game, you can't play it at full force because as a public company CEO, you have a lot of restrictions where they don't. You end up, you're in a lose. You're kind of in a losing. And I remember when they came in, they sent a letter. The board had a meeting. It was this whole drama. It's a lot of drama now. I remember thinking we got the scarlet letter. We have the scarlet letter because we know about it. Every public company CEO knows about activists. I mean, Elon Musk even said the reason he creates the structure to control the company. You'll see it's in some. He wanted full control over his company X and voting wise because he says for activists, even he worries about it because he knows they like to come for people that are innovative. They like sometimes to just disrupt you because someone bigger or someone else wants you out. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Wow. So you start this on the couch. You still got the couch,
Yeah.
but at a certain point, you have to leave the company.
Yeah.
And that moment, what is going through your mind? Like you still kept the couch. So it's not like it's a memory. It's still there. You can still sit on the couch. It's the friend that got you through the whole thing. Do you talk to the couch? Do you think in your head, how did this happen? What goes through you?
During periods of tremendous change, and I'd already experienced a lot of that, there is a very bumpy ride out of the past. And I've said this, many times to myself, and I was like, you really don't know yourself until you stare into the abyss. You really don't know yourself until you look into that place and you don't get an answer back from anybody. And that's what there's no answer from God. There's nothing. And I'll go back to Frank for 1 second. When I ended up on Frank's couch, I wanted to know if he could get me on some pills to get me out of being depressed. And he said no, because the pain will be instructive. He said the pain will be instructive. I can hand you Zoloft. I can hand you a bunch of things, and I can get you to a place where you won't feel any of this, but the pain will be instructive for you. So I was fortunate. I guess I was fortunate enough. Like I had that very painful experience of that transition, and I hadn't really had. I went through the .com, which had its own pain. It was more of a business pain, but it wasn't. It was like different than an existential, human pain. So when I end up there, I'm now faced with the same thing. I'm like, I'm in this. It's going to be a rough ride out, but the difference is I have a family. I didn't have a family on the other stuff. It was me on a couch. So now I have a wife and I have 3 kids, and they're very young, and they've now gone through knowing me, running this public company and going around the world, and they're showing up at company headquarters, all these people, and everyone's kissing your ass all the time. You know how it is. It's like, it's just all like a big parade, and they're going to witness something, and so there's many things going through my head about this experience that I'll probably end up that I'm about to enter, and the uncertainty of all that. And now my family will experience that. And And so, yeah, there's a lot more going on when you're looking into that abyss than when you're alone on a couch. Actually, when you're on alone on a couch, and now I look back, it was like nothing because it's you eating ramen noodles. I got, other people eating ramen noodles with me now. So, and, so it's a different feeling. It's
Wow.
a different sense of what is this all going to mean to me and my family? And that company meant so much to me, and I cared so much about it, and we had such a great culture. But during COVID, a lot of it fell apart. There was a lot falling apart for every company during COVID, and as my wife didn't think I was a very happy person for a long time, actually. Like, I think she just, I guess, when she came into my life a couple years into being with me, she just didn't feel like I was really the best person I could be. So when it was all going on and I was fighting it, I had lawyers battling my own board of directors. My wife, I remember we were in Italy. My wife's from Italy, from Sicily, and we went back in the middle of all this for a week. And I remember I was like pissed and angry and everything, and with lawyers. And eventually, and I remember it was early in the morning, and I was on the balcony and screaming at fucking people. And anyway, I came in, she was there. And she said, when is this going to end? Because this is like, you're going to end up dead. Like, and you did so much. Like, you built this amazing company. We have money. Like, you did things, and like, you came from nothing. Like, why do you need more of this? Like, what does this mean for you? And she said, you have young kids, and they're not really, you're not present anymore. And you're going to, like, we're all kind of like a sideshow here. But you're going to end up like sick. So eventually you kind of put down the sword and you're like, it's time to figure out what's going to happen. And I remember thinking kind of that day I was walking around in like nature. And I remember thinking, man, they could take my company. All these things that's going on, they can take, but they can never take me. They can't take my next idea. So who cares? Like, they think they can take everything. A lot of this stuff is about how people can do things. But nobody
Wow.
can do anything to you. They can't take your mind. It's like, it's like you read the Viktor Frankl book, Man's Search for Meaning. And I remember
Right.
Dr. Frank gave me that, and I picked it back up and was like, they can take things from you, but they can't take you. So I'm like, whatever. These people are all like loser, to my mind, total losers, and they're not about creating things, they're about destroying, and it's all like a game. It's a financial game, and wow. But like, there's a whole other world out there that I have to go look at now, and I'll figure it out.
Is what you're doing now your greatest idea?
Yeah, it's like, I felt the calling. And then I started to think about AI and like and going back to my roots of the first day logging in and like, where's the people? I asked myself the same question, like, where are people in this equation with AI? Like, everything that's being told to us is like the machine's smarter, better, we're taking our jobs. Like, where's the people? And I'm like, I think I can create I think I can create an alternative to all of this that allows it to be people first, with like technology supporting us like it always has, and get out of this path of the existential threat to humanity and all the stuff that's making us uncomfortable. So that set me on the path to building what is today UARE.ai. And through what I've been doing with the company, I've also changed. I did put on a new set of glasses. Like, I had to put on a new set of glasses and rethink how I want to live in the world and how I want to build a business, rethinking building business, rethinking of my belief systems, all of that. Yes, there's, all of that's part of the change.
So basically, like, you're coming up with a solution for the problem that everybody is worried about. What's going to happen to the people?
Yeah.
And how did that all come together? How did you figure out, okay, we're going to call it UARE.ai? U comes before the AI. The
Right.
big U is there first.
Right.
Okay.
We say authentic, not artificial intelligence. Like, AI is authentic intelligence, not artificial. Like, well, I it's really interesting because once again, like now I have free mind. Like once I left live person, I was like free. I was a free man, right? I got out of the jail and I'm free. And I'm free to think. Like the mental jail of like that company and everything and all this stuff, I'm free. So what happens is like all creativity comes from something that I don't think a lot we can't put our finger on, but things started to come into my head. And what somewhere in 2023, November 2023, it's Thanksgiving with my family and my cousins and stuff, and I'm with my kids. And my cousin and I, we started. He was in technology too, and we started to talk. And I was like, his father and our fathers were brothers, and my dad passed away. His dad passed away many years before, and we were like, and we both have really young kids, and we're like, God, it'd be great if our kids could know our dads, and that kind of put an idea in my head about why can't we use AI to replicate people? Like, and the first idea of the company was called Eternos. And it was about how can we replicate people so when they're not here anymore physically, they can be around for family members. And that's how it got, that was the kernel, the genesis of, and then it became something more obviously, but that's how it got started.
So you took what might normally have been a book that somebody might write for future generations, but you decided to make it as real a person as it could be.
Yeah. And what happened was I started to build the platform and my cousin was doing the engineering on it. We were building it. And things just happened. Like a guy I worked with at Live Person who I hadn't seen in many years, Michael Bomber, posted on Facebook that he's going to die and he's got terminal cancer and he'll be going shortly. And he wanted to say goodbye to everyone. And he posted on Facebook and I saw it and I called him up immediately. And I said, Michael, I'm working on this concept that we could preserve you as an AI. And what do you think? And he was like, I'm in. I've been thinking about this. I wanted to do it. Like, this is what I've been thinking about. Before I die, could I make an AI of myself? So we started to work together. And by working with him, he recorded about 25 hours of his life stories. And I gave him like 100 questions. And through his stories, we then started to analyze like what's inside of a story of a human. And we learned a lot about like the everyone has the hero's story and the Joseph Campbell, there's a structure to it. We could see it in his story. We could then, out of that story, kind of build a model of what a human, we call it the human life model today, of like, how do you construct a human as an AI? And we put a voice AI with that. And I'll never forget the moment I flew to Germany with my laptop and met with Michael and his wife in Berlin. And we opened up the computer and he starts to talk to his AI and he starts to ask it like, where was I born? And it nailed everything like that. And then he asked it like, hey, I'm your grandson. I never met you. And I've got this issue in my personal life. How would you advise me? And it gave the advice without a data set. It didn't have that story in his data set. So he goes, oh my God, it's exactly what I was thinking. Like it's saying how I would give that advice, because we never know what's in the data set. You know, we don't know how the AIs are going to reply. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah. And he keeps asking a question. He goes, wow. So he goes, okay, this is pretty wild. Let me bring my wife in, Annette. So Annette comes in, she starts talking to it, and she asks it a question, how'd you feel the first time we met? And the AI, in like a loving voice, says, I fell in love with you. And we all got teary-eyed. Like, it was an emotional moment. And I remember thinking, like, I've been in technology my whole life. I've never felt any real emotion like this. And the impact this is going to have on their lives, you can see it. And that made me realize, like, we got something special. And I don't know where it's going to go, but we definitely are onto something, because when technology elicits an emotion, it's just a different thing. There's something there. So I think AI really reflects humanity if you can really get it to the right place. And that kind of led us to building what we have today at UARE.ai, which is a more extensive platform for professionals like yourself and creators, where you can replicate yourself and then you can, sell your knowledge, which we can get into that. But these moments kind of got me hooked on, we're on a right path,
Now, I never thought that this would be something for me. And then when I met you, I was immediately convinced this is what I would love to do. I knew it because Larry King, the broadcaster who I had breakfast with every day for 12 years, if he heard about this, he'd be going nuts. He wanted to live forever, and this would have been eternal life for him. And then when somebody like me thinks about all the people who have questions, they want to ask me about the way I ask questions.
Yeah.
I can't talk to all of them, but you are offering me a way to be there for anybody in the world, whatever time zone. They can be getting on a computer, or I don't know if you're going to do this by phone. You can explain it. And there can be 1,000 people asking me questions about questions all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were, we have now, you can build, we call it a service where you take the structure of how you do things and you put them into a service which can be run. It's an AI, and I can engage with it. And you and I were just yesterday working through like, how do people build a podcast, can ask great questions. And you started to think, it was amazing because I was watching you like understand your methodology. Like, do you have a methodology of how you do things and how you get the most out of these interviews? You've done this you've interviewed the most famous people on earth. For people that I used your AI already because I was trying to figure out like a good question to ask for a market, some stuff I'm working on, even for marketing of this company. I was like, what would be the perfect question I would ask on a market? And I went through your AI and you started to talk to me without me talking to you like this. And I was blown away. And then you and I yesterday spent an hour like working on some other stuff. And I was like, you have it, and you're not the only one. Like, I meet people like you every day that have like an amazing set of depth and knowledge that, by the way, social media can never, it's not a platform for you. Like, it's a platform for you but it's not a platform for like having you in my life to help me construct like a podcast and ask the perfect questions on a personal level. Like, if I'm building a podcast about being an entrepreneur, you're going to talk to me differently. If I'm a podcaster trying to do health and wellness, I'll still get the best questions for those things, but it's always tailored to me. That's what AI is so powerful. It's not one-to-many like social. It's one-to-one. You can take your skills and give it to someone else on a personal level. I'm blown away by what we can do with it, even in myself, because I see that working like yesterday, I was like, wow, like how many people they get to tap into Cal's ability to ask questions. You did Muhammad Ali and Robert De Niro and presidents and like everyone, like it was, and they're getting that thing. They're getting your brain to do the same. Chat GPT can never do what Cal does. You could go in there today. What's the top questions I should ask people on a podcast? It would never do what you do. Never.
The difference, say, between ChatGPT is it's getting amalgam of information from a lot of sources, and it's going to come up with questions based on what a lot of people think. But what's happening here is you're getting how I think. I was shocked listening to myself. And not only that, it was coming to me in my own voice.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how that sounds. And then when I saw that it was doing things that I wouldn't do, I quickly saw, oh no, that's not the way to do it. And this is the way you would do it if you were me. And I got it. I've never been through anything like that hour before in my life.
Yeah.
And it was so liberating to feel like, number one, I'm getting the most out of my mind because it's enabling me to see my methodology. And you know something, Larry King was like asked to be a professor at universities. And I remember he was telling me one dean said, "What would your syllabus be?" And he said, "Syllabus? I don't even know what the word means." But he didn't think in terms of methodology. He just did it. And a lot of people are like that.
We all are.
They can do it.
Yes.
But they don't stop and think of the whole process and getting it down to little pieces. This is forcing me, or not even forcing me, it's asking me, it's compelling me to say, no, you don't, they're not that way. Do it this way. Oh, and in this tone. And because if you say it in a different tone, it may get a different answer. And you can't ask it in the third question of the interview. You got to ask it as the 69th question.
Yeah.
It's just been wild going through this. And it makes me feel this is something that I would want to have. I mean, and this is me with questions, but you're going to have this with people who are experts in fields from A to Z.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, look at the conversation we're having about AI. It's about like, you're unleashing, it's what the internet did when you're like, good technology just unleashes you to think like, wow, I can transform and I could expand myself. That's the power of this stuff. But everything up until this conversation is like, we're going to replace Cal as a writer. We're going to do this with Cal. ChatGPT is smarter than Cal and Rob. It's all, Anthropic's it's got this, crazy thing that's going to break into every bank account. It's all like a dystopian Silicon Valley. And now I live here. I live here. It's a dystopian Silicon Valley thing. And it's all about one thing. It makes a good movie. That's all that is, but it's not the way it's going to play out. If we take all the people that have put something out there that has been taken by the large language models, because they took our knowledge, they took our writings, they took our websites, they took everything public, and they aggregated it to create this knowledge, but they only have a little piece of you. That methodology doesn't live out there. That's the secret. That's what's going to make AI powered. So imagine all the billions of people or millions of people all together on a platform. I can talk to Cal. I may want to have Cal and 6 other people like Cal around building a podcast together as aggregated knowledge. But the big part is you own yourself. Your data is recognized. It's attached to you. We don't, it's you. It would always be like Cal and Rob and, and we're there and people are talking to us. And that is human dignity. Like it's what Pope Leo was writing about in his encyclical recently, which he put out, which is like the dignity of human beings, like the sanctity of human beings, the reflection of God through human beings. And that cannot be replaced through a machine. It's so much more wonderful things we can get as individual human beings being together using this technology to do things like what we're talking about than it is to try to replace us. To try to marginalize us or aggregate our knowledge. Nobody wants to be average. And that's what you get a lot of time. If you ever try to create with AI, it's never really coming up with great creative ideas. It does automates great tasks, can do amazing things. I'm not taking it away from it. But the part that makes human beings so cool, the part about creation, engagement, community, it doesn't do that stuff. It's an isolating thing. So we're at the place where I just think we're at a place that I hope the type of AI we're putting in the world, catches on, and people will feel that I have an alternative now, that I can own my data set. I can own myself. I can own the ability to share and even monetize myself.
So you're about to launch this now.
They're about a week away. Yeah, next week. Yeah.
And this podcast will come out right around that time. You've obviously been through this roller coaster before.
Yeah.
Are you putting on a new set of glasses here, or do you have an idea of what may be coming? Do you know how to let the world know what you've just assembled here? There are how many people are on UARE.ai right now?
There's about
it's
about 300 beta testers right now. We let in. We have 6,000 people waiting. About 100 a day are showing up to get on the wait list. Our strategy is marketing wise is it's about you. It's called UARE.ai. So it's about you, Cal. It's about we guys got Jordan Toma. I met Jordan actually through my mom. She saw him on Instagram. He's working with kids and helping them with all the challenges of kids. He's speaking in schools. He's like yourself. He just has like this giant heart, and he's got 1 million followers on social, but it's not. But people, mom and dad text him all the time. They want questions from him. We're launching with him and you and other people. We have to work with you. It's about showing you off, not us. It's about showing the power of the technology, what you're doing. So our marketing strategy is really is to take our people on the platform and really just put them out there and tell the story of how they're transforming their lives using this technology and how they're creating connections with others and changing their lives. So that's our strategy. So we just got to, it always starts with a great core group of people that are passionate, early adopters, and you kind of go from there. But we're not taking Super Bowl ads or anything right now. It's got to start from the community. We got to take it kind of one step at a time. So
I have never been as excited about some potential adventure in my life as I am right now about this. I have no idea where it's going to take me, but I know we're going somewhere. And I know I've already sensed it's bringing out a lot more of myself that I even knew that was there. It's actually doing what I hope to do in an interview, which is to make the person curious about themselves.
Yeah.
That's what this has actually done for me, because it's forced me to think, what do I know? How can I help people? And what's really going on with people to help solve their problems?
Yeah. People helping people at scale. People helping people at scale. Like scale. I remember you talking to your AI yesterday, like, it's so funny. You're like how many, like you were thinking about, you asked about the scale of things.
How many people can talk to me at the same time? And how many can I answer back at the same time? And it basically says, well, I tell you the truth, Cal, it's unlimited. There can be an unlimited amount of people talking to you.
It was really funny because I remember your AI is like, well, to tell you the truth, Cal, I'm an AI. I'm kind of unlimited. I was laughing because it was like the way it said it to us, like it was like because you have enough data. It's like Cal, the AI of Cal. It's like, tell you the truth, Cal, I'm an AI. Like I can kind of, I'm unlimited. I'm laughing. So.
Oh my! Number one, I cannot wait to see where this goes. Number two, your whole story just amplified it exponentially to me, because I know what's behind the moment. That whole Joseph Campbell hero's journey, like you're on it. Everything that you went through from the couch to where you are now. And I am so happy in a small way to be connected to it. And I say in a small way because, to tell you the truth, there's a lot more of me's that you're going to be putting up on UARE.ai. And a lot of people are going to be getting a lot of great advice from them as well. So I cannot say thank you loud enough, or in the voices of all these people that can be calling in at once. But this is an amazing story about to be told. And I'm so grateful to be at your side as you're getting to tell it.
Yeah, and I remember I met because I was just reaching out to people to do podcasts with, and then you and I talked. I'm like, and then you told me your life story, and I'm like, Cal, you got to be on the platform. Like, how could like you interviewed everybody? like if I could tap into Cal about how I should interview people, like I don't know, like so when you and I were talking, I'm like, Cal, you got to be on the platform. Like this is just coming months. We're doing this months after we met because there are people like yourself. And by the way, everyone has an X factor. Like that's the thing. Everyone has some X factor. Like there are many journalists, and they all have we have another guy on the platform, David Kushner, and he's a great journalist too. But he's not Cal, and you're not David. But David has his whole other way to do storytelling, right? He has a whole other way to interview people. He has a whole other thing that he does, and so I'm getting to meet all these people, and it's just every human being has a unique reason they're here, and AI can do something with that to make that available to many people in the world. And I even young people, I know there's all the stuff going on with like people talking at colleges and all the booing going on. I get it. Like if I was graduating college right now, entry level jobs are getting automated. Everything you're doing is getting automated. We're taking your data. We're big, and then there's these big companies, wealth. Oh, there's like a lot of wealth going on, and here I am coming out of college just wanting to make it work. But everyone who's coming out of college has something to create here too. Like there's some skill that you have, even though you may not understand it. But if you build your own AI and you start to work with your AI, maybe it'll come out. And so I just think there's so many cool things. We're scratching the surface about what we can do here. But look, I want to keep it's not a want. Like I will keep the company on a line, and the line is human first. Authenticity. By the way, nobody can be on the platform unless publicly you can chat with yourself and talk to your own AI. But once you go public, you have to also authenticate yourself because we don't want fake cows and fake Robs and fake whatever. So it's all about authenticity, but it's about human first, and we'll figure it out together. Like as long as we keep to the place, it's human first. The rest of it will work itself out. I don't know where it'll go, but it'll work itself out in the right way.
Well, the journey now begins.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes. Let's make a good prayer. We'll make sure this thing works. So.
I have a feeling that it's gonna, and this story has only made that feeling much stronger because I know now what's gone into this.
Yeah. Lifetime of things, of living. And I'm fortunate to be here, and and I do have a greater sense of like a relationship with God and things that I didn't have in my life. I guess when I put on this when I started to put on this next set of glasses, I guess I wanted the answer to the question of when I looked into the abyss that there would be a voice there. And for a long time as an entrepreneur, many of us, you feel alone a lot, even though you have people around you and you may have a family, you feel alone because you're creating things that are new and they can get pulled apart. You can have doubt. But I guess for me, like the recent set of glasses is really about like having that different relationship and through what I went through, like finding that relationship with God. And I guess as I get older too, there's a reason for that also. But I think it's necessary to do what I'm doing, for me. Like it's not about Frank and stuff anymore. And Frank, it's about something greater.
I think we're going to find out what that is.
We sure will, one way or another.
All right. That was just beautiful. And I know you're preparing for launch. Your time is precious. All right. Time to tell you about Moments. When I talk about Moments by Luxury Concierge Travel, it feels like it would to you if you were telling a friend about a great movie you just saw and loved, or a book that you had to let them know about. In a time when we hear of dark clouds and doomsday forecasts of humans losing all their jobs to artificial intelligence, Moments is a story of blue skies. It allows companies to reward employees who do extraordinary work with trips around the world. Company is sending them and their loved ones, could be their spouses, their children, their friends, on a bucket list trip as a way of recognizing all that they've put into their work and the company. That's as human and positive as it gets. But it gets better. The white glove group of concierges at Moments prepares every detail, so there's no stress in the planning for the employees who are being rewarded. They just tell the concierges where they've always dreamed of going and what they like to do, and get suggestions that they approve. And it's all set up for them. Every airline and hotel reservation, meals, every tour, every activity, any cancellation they want to make, it's all done for them. I've talked to many people who've gotten these awards. You may have encountered their stories in past episodes. The language they use is always the same. Incredible, amazing, once in a lifetime. We were treated as if we were celebrities. In next week's episode, I'm just going to have a few of the winners of a Moments trip talk about what that feels like. It won't be a scripted commercial. It's from a real conversation with me and my curiosity. Any company that wants to engender loyalty among their best employees or honor them in a memorable way, you might want to look into Moments. It may set off the trip that motivates even more extraordinary work and takes your entire company to new places.